Everything you need to know about St Edward's Crown, the Coronation Crown, in 6 minutes. The present St Edward's Crown, which the King will be crowned with on Saturday the 6th of May 2023, was made in 1661 for Charles II. For much of its history it has been little used. Charles II, his brother James II and William III were all crowned with it, but then it fell out of use. Charles II commissioned the crown with the rest of the regalia from his banker Sir Robert Vyner, who was a member of the Goldsmiths Company. He didn't make the crown itself, he was just the middleman and financier, and the work was undertaken by anonymous subcontractors in London. Vyner's financing of the Merry Monarch's lavish lifestyle eventually left Vyner in serious financial difficulties, and it seems that he was never properly paid for the crown or any of the regalia. The crown was commissioned to replace the previous medieval St Edward's crown, destroyed by Parliament in 1649. The medieval crown was not as lavish as the present St Edward's crown, and was made of gold wirework set with slight stones, and had 2 little bells hanging on it. It may well have been a crown that St Edward the Confessor, the last but one Anglo-Saxon king, owned, or more likely, one that was buried with him when he died, and was used at the coronation because it was a relic of the saint. Because it was a relic, it wasn't allowed to leave the abbey, and the king had to take it off before he left, putting on his great or state crown, the precursor to the imperial state crown, before the final procession. Although the present St Edward's crown is kept in the Tower of London and not in the abbey, it is because of this medieval tradition that the crown doesn't leave the abbey that Charles III will change into the imperial state crown in St Edward the Confessor's chapel before he leaves. The crown may have looked a bit like this, which is the late 11th century Holy Crown of Hungary. When Charles II had the new crown made in 1661, he wanted it to resemble the previous crown, and some symbolic elements of it were replicated. The band of the present crown has a cresting of crosses and fleurs-de-lis, which the medieval crown almost certainly had. Fleurs-de-lis, which are stylised lilies, we generally think of these days as a symbol of France, as it is on the French coat of arms. In the medieval period, it was primarily a symbol of the Blessed Virgin Mary, lilies referring to Mary's purity, and that is why the kings of France adopted it to show their special devotion to her. This symbol was on the English crowns not as a reference to the King of England's claim to the throne of France, but because England in the Middle Ages had a special devotion to Mary too, and was known as Mary's dowry. The inclusion of crosses and fleurs-de-lis on the crown band is a visual symbol that the king is blessed by Christ and Mary for his role. From the band of the crown rise 4 half arches. In the Middle Ages, arches on a crown designated that the sovereign had imperial dignity. An emperor in times past was not a sovereign with colonies, but simply one who was free of any allegiance to a higher power other than God. The Norman kings of England owed allegiance to the King of France for the holding of Normandy and other territories, but in England they owed allegiance to nobody. The arches represent that freedom, the supreme authority of the English, later the British sovereign, from any outside power. On top of the arches is an orb, a golden globe surmounted by a cross. This is to symbolise that although the sovereign is supreme in his own land, he holds that land from Christ, the King of Kings, who rules over all. The 1661 St Edward's crown is made of solid gold, like the state crown of Charles II shown in this painting. It was made tall and wide so that it sat on top of Charles's voluminous hair. One of the reasons it stopped being used is that it was too tall, wide, unwieldy and ungainly. It was certainly too big for 20th century heads. George V had it refurbished in 1911 before he used it at his coronation, and the band was reduced in size, the crown being reduced in weight from a significant amount, from 82 to 71 troy ounces. Originally the arches and band had been decorated with strings of imitation pearls. These were replaced in 1911 by gold beads that were plated with platinum. Before the British Empire gave to the crown a steady supply of wonderful gems, the British royal family had a rather pathetic collection of stones, and certainly not enough to keep a little used crown permanently set with them. So for every coronation until 1911, the crown was set with stones that were hired from other people. In 1911, it was then set with a present 444 precious and semi-precious stones, a permanent collection. Even then, these stones were recycled. They were mostly removed from other objects in the royal collection. Most of the stones are aquamarines. There are also white topazes, tourmalines, rubies, amethysts, sapphires, jargoons, a garnet, a spinel and a carbuncle. There are no diamonds, which really contrasts the crown with the 1937 Imperial State Crown that the King will also wear, which is mostly set with diamonds. The gems are set in delightful white and red enamelled settings of 1661. So that's St Edward's crown in 6 minutes or thereabouts. If you want to dive deeper into this subject matter, I have 2 more detailed videos on my channel on the crown and its history. Thanks very much for watching. I've decided to publish a special coronation issue of the Antiquary magazine. This is an addition to the general monthly issue. I have a large collection of really interesting old photographs that I've been collecting over the years of the coronations of George V, George VI and Elizabeth II, and to celebrate the King's coronation in May, this issue will be a special album looking back at the coronations of the 20th century. There is a link in the description and above to the website where you can pre-order a copy before the publishing date in early May.